that he would grant you according to the riches of his glory. We talked about this yesterday on the broadcast, the riches of the glory of God, how awesome it is, and how that God gives us glimpses of his glory, and he's made promises to us in the next world, how that we'll live in his glory. But now, you go to the very next thought that he brings us. In this same verse, he says, to be strengthened with might. Now, I am very much in favor of being strengthened with the might of God. Because you see, I realize my humanity. I realize the limitations that I have in my own flesh, in my own mind, and how that I have to deal with my humanity, who has a tendency to want to lean to the carnal side, that wants to do things that are in direct disharmony with what God has intended for me. And that battle takes place, as the Apostle Paul says, we wrestle with things that are not spiritual, but indeed there's flesh and blood that's involved in it, even though he says we wrestle not with flesh and blood, but against principalities and powers and rulers of darkness in high places. And yes, all of those things are realities. There is darkness in this world. There is principalities that are designed to be in direct opposition to the Spirit of God. And if we are not aware, then we'll find ourselves being subject to these principalities and powers who has a design on you. Scripture tells us about this in John chapter 10. He said the enemy comes to steal and to kill and to destroy. He's all about destruction. He's all about wrecking your life in such a way that he would cause much grief and pain into your very existence. And so many, Scripture talks about it, have died because of their dysfunction in their inability to comprehend the spiritual side of who they are. And they live in that carnal realm, and that carnal realm brings destruction even upon your own body, and often in your mental state as well. You see, all of this is designed by the spirit of darkness to defeat and to bring defeat into your life. But again, we think about what Scripture tells us about God. It says God comes to give us life, and to give us life more abundant. And that is the very heart and desire of God, as he says to you, to strengthen you in your might, in the very might of God. In other words, that God would fortify you through his Spirit. That when you learn how to walk in his Spirit, this is what Scripture talks about. Walk in the Spirit, put on the full armor of God, that you be able to withstand the very wiles of the devil, a constant barrage and attack. The Scripture says we have the power to defeat. This is Pastor Jack King with the gospel on the radio broadcast.